Hi there, I'm Christina, and welcome to Speak English with Christina, where you'll learn American culture and business know-how to become confident in English. And today we are going to start with a special mini course called How to Feel Confident in Conversations in English. And before we start, if you want to activate the subtitles for this video, go ahead and click the little CC icon down at the bottom of the screen for your subtitles. And this is a free mini course that you're going to receive, and it's all about confident conversation skills and small talk strategies for big success, whether this is in your personal life or your professional life. And if you want to make sure that you get all of the lessons in this mini course, go ahead and sign up at ChristinaRebuffet.com and you will become one of more than 35,000 Speak English ambassadors. Those are the students who are learning with me and my lessons and my courses every week. So let's jump right into part one of this mini course, How to Feel Confident in Conversations in English. Now, before we look at how to do that, let's explore first why you don't feel confident in conversations today. Like what is, blocking you at the moment? One thing to be reassured about is that, native speakers also have to work to develop good conversation skills. This is not natural for everyone, no matter what language you're in. And, some people, they just avoid developing their conversation skills. They find all kinds of excuses like, oh, I'm just not good at conversation in English. I don't have that gift of language skills. Or, no, I don't like small talk. It's superficial, it's boring. I don't want to learn how to do it. I don't like it. Or I hear a lot of professionals who say, I don't need good conversation skills or small talk. If I'm good at my job and I have the good technical skills, who cares? But, that is all false. And there's good news is that you can learn good conversation skills. And, yes, it may be natural for some people, but everyone can learn it, and that includes you. And it is a big mistake to not develop your conversation skills. And we'll see why later in this lesson, but it really is a very important thing to develop, especially for your career. Now, for you as a student, someone who is learning English as a foreign language, there are some additional challenges for you. First thing is just the conversation skills. That is not natural for everyone in your language, in English. It's not natural for everyone. If it is in English, that just makes it a little more difficult for you. And then if you must, take into consideration cultural differences, like if you're doing work with a lot of Americans, that's a lot to think about. But the biggest challenge that my students have, and then maybe you as well, you feel this, is just I lack confidence when I have to speak English. It's a little like these two people in the photo. You're at work or a networking event or a social event, and you're next to the person, but it's just easier to look at your phone or to look at your computer instead of trying to start a conversation. Don't worry, we're going to see how to change that. So, how can you instantly boost your confidence even with your current level of English? We're going to look at a lot of different techniques. The first thing is just don't feel pressured to be perfect. Every exchange does not have to be a fantastic, intelligent, deep conversation. And you don't always have to be memorable, impressive, and charismatic. Not all the time. But the more you try, the easier it becomes. So take every opportunity just to try to say hello, to introduce yourself, to make a comment on, the weather, to compliment the person. Because the more you try to start and to have a conversation, the easier it will become for you. And then, when you really do want to have a good conversation and be memorable and credible and charismatic and make a good impression, well, it's easier because you have so much practice doing it. So when you want to join that conversation with the person that you really want to talk to, you feel more confident. Another technique for you is to think that everyone is an old friend. And now let me explain this. When you meet someone new, instead of thinking, I don't know this person, are they judging me? I'm afraid of my accent. Can I understand their accent? I don't know. Just take a minute and visualize for yourself and imagine that they are an old friend that you're meeting again. When you meet someone new, think of them as an old friend. And it's psychological, but you will feel more comfortable instantly. Because, it's normal to feel nervous when you're meeting someone new. This happens to everyone. And then for you as a language learner, maybe you concentrate on your English too much. You become tense. That is that feeling of like a lot of students say, I block when I have to speak English. You become tense, you block. That's not good. But when you're speaking with a friend, remember that comfortable feeling that you have. Remember that with a friend, you feel less nervous. You feel more comfortable. So just imagine that this new person that you're meeting, imagine that you're seeing an old friend. Now, I know this technique, it sounds silly, and you're maybe like, Christina, that doesn't work. But it does work. I have had students try this technique and come back and say, I don't know, but it worked. Because it creates a feeling of warmth and connection. And even if your language isn't perfect, you already start that conversation in a positive mindset. So here's how it works. You imagine that the person that you meet is an old friend, but of course they are not. So you still introduce yourself, you shake hands, and, meet them for the first time. But think to yourself that you're just so happy to see this person and you're so happy to talk to them. And the physical result of, this mind trick is that you relax, your body language changes, and you feel more comfortable in that conversation. So then, you're ready, you think that you can do it. Don't hesitate. Just do it. This is the next technique because, we can very easily find excuses to not do something. So don't think too much about the things that might make you uncomfortable in that conversation. Don't think like, how can I start the conversation? Will I understand their accent? Will they judge my English level? Will I have enough vocabulary after 2 minutes and we start talking about sports? If you think about it too much, you will find a way to convince yourself to not join a conversation or not start a conversation. So, don't think about it too much. If necessary, just take a moment and visualize how you want to start the conversation. Just imagine the first things that you can say to that person and imagine that conversation goes well. But, take a moment, but don't hesitate too long. Just do it. Just go and try it and trust yourself that you will be able to do this. You're better than you think. And remember, like we said, not every conversation has to be fantastic. You just want to get the practice and do it and realize that it's not as scary as you think. And remember, confidence, it's all in your head. It starts with your mentality between saying, I'm not good at English, I'm sorry for my level is very low, I don't have enough words. Instead of saying I can't or I don't, just say, I can do this. I'm not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I might feel a little silly, but it's okay because I'm trying and I'm learning. And when you're able to do all of that, there are some very concrete results of better conversation skills. Now, the first thing is if you have bad social skills, what you risk is losing opportunities in your career, in your business, in your professional life, and even in your personal life too, because you can make lots of friends and achieve lots of things in your personal life through conversation also. But if you have good social skills, that is going to help you advance your career, grow your business, advance in your professional life, have a more fulfilling, a better professional life, and also have a more satisfying personal life because you fit in socially. You have friends. You can, make jokes with your friends, your neighbors, or your colleagues. And all of that is part of conversation skills. And small talk is a major skill for business as well. There are so many articles about how important conversation and small talk is in your professional life. And I just want to share a book, a resource with you, but also a very relevant quote about being able to make conversation. The book is called Reach, a new strategy to help you step outside your comfort zone, rise to the challenge, and build confidence, by Andy Molinsky, who is a professor in behavioral psychology. And he says that, you can be the most technically skilled worker in the world, but your ability to progress in your job is dependent on your ability to build and maintain positive relationships with people at work. And guess what skill is critical for building and maintaining these relationships? Can you guess? Small talk. And that's, years of studying what makes people connect, what helps people to advance in their careers, to communicate better. And Dr. Molinsky has found that conversation skills and small talk are one of the biggest factors in your success. So, you think that maybe some people are just natural or good at English, but the students that you see who have good conversation skills, and the native speakers also with good conversation skills, they worked to develop their conversation skills, their vocabulary, and their confidence. And you can do that too, but it all starts with a change in your mentality to, instead of saying, I can't do this, I'm never going to be good, to say, I can do it, I just have to try, I have to practice, I have to, not be so afraid. So here is the recap of how to feel confident in conversations in English. Don't feel pressured to be perfect. Take every opportunity to try, even if it's just a very small exchange. Remember, everyone is an old friend. Have that approach when meeting new people so that you relax. Don't hesitate too much. Just go and do it and trust in yourself because you can do it. You got to believe in yourself, but then you also have to take action. Now, our next lesson is going to be how to take action specifically. And that's the first step, how to introduce yourself naturally and confidently so that you don't feel afraid. But I have a question for you before we get into the next lesson. What frustrations do you have about conversations in English? Put your answers in the chat below the video. Share those frustrations with me. And like we said, don't worry. It is totally normal to feel those frustrations. So share them with us and we'll see how I or the other Speak English ambassadors can help you with those. And if you want to be sure to get the next lesson, go ahead and sign up at ChristinaRebuffet.com so that I can send it to you because I don't want you to miss it. It's really fantastic. It's concrete, it's practical, and it's something that you can use immediately in the real world. All right, you guys, I will see you next time. Have a good one and go practice your English. See ya. Bye.